So today I am here with one of our top agents, Jamie Lemmons, and I'm excited. She has had such a journey, and I've been able to watch her journey and not only watch it, but learn from what Jamie has done, her determination, her consistency. She always shows up, whether it's for herself, her clients, or other agents in the office. So I'm excited about what she's going to share with us today, and hopefully it'll help somebody out there. Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
Glad
Jamie.
you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, Jamie. And I don't want this to be, we have not rehearsed, just so everybody knows.
Right.
And we just want to share information and hopefully just make a difference for somebody else that's watching this. So, Jamie, tell me about the situation, like what you were doing before you came to Keller Williams. I don't even know if you were in real estate prior to Keller Williams, so share with us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I was with another brokerage, a family-owned
Okay.
brokerage, prior to coming to Keller Williams. And I'll be honest, I've been here now a little over 10 years. Love it. Really didn't even know kind of what existed, right? When you're kind of
Right.
in a bubble, family-owned small brokerage, doing a lot of foreclosures. So a lot of sign calls, a lot of short sales prior to coming here.
Okay. All right. And what would you say when you were doing that was the biggest holdback for you? Like what changed?
I think as I saw my business continuing to grow, continuing to work my sphere, not as many sign calls. Obviously, the
Mm,
market changes, right? We're in the midst of a change right now as well. I feel out here, and really foreclosures were starting to shrink. And I said to
mm,
myself, okay, I'm seeing kind of what's going on. I see what the future brings. What am I going to do to continue to grow myself and grow my business? And I just, as much as I love my broker, as much as I love the people I worked with, I knew that I needed to kind of take that next, professional step for myself.
awesome. And she just made a really good point. One of the things that I let people know right away is if you work on yourself, everything else follows.
It's
So I'm glad you made
100%.
that. And then the other thing that I heard you say that I think is really important is things have changed. We don't get those sign calls anymore.
Right. I remember getting desk duty and starting this business, and I was assigned, so many days, and I was the only non-family member broker in
Oh,
this particular office. And, the days of sign calls, yes, we get a sign call here and there, but, our industry, it's evolved and it's going to
right.
continue to. So I always like to kind of stay one step ahead and, looking future forward, much like you do in business, being business minded. So I knew that I needed to make a change.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Do you remember the moment that you made the decision to make the change? What was that trigger?
Yes. So I had actually worked on a file with somebody who was in the office, right?
Mm.
And they had said, do you know Keller Williams? What do you know about it? And I was invited to, it was a lender sponsored event actually.
Oh,
And that kind of gave me a flavor of some of the agents in the office. There's always that apprehension,
apprehension.
right? You're kind of like, am I ready? Okay, rebranding. Is this the right move? But really, after being at that event and starting to do research, because I didn't know a whole lot about Keller Williams. I
Right.
mean, you know the name and whatnot. And sometimes I'm the type of person when I make a decision, I analyze and then I make the decision.
Mhm.
I'm not one to kind of like sit and wait and years later I'm still talking about it. I operate that way in my business. I operate that personally as well, and with the decisions within, my family. So once I made that decision, I was like, all right, let's go.
Okay. So you're pretty decisive
Yes,
and then you moved quickly.
I did. I
Okay.
did.
That's awesome. And so somebody just invited you to an event. That's
Mhm.
pretty cool. Okay.
And
I didn't know
again,
that.
going into a room and you're like, okay, I don't know any of these people. And knowing though, and doing some research that, this is a big office. So I'm like, and here I'm coming from like, we're talking, I think there were 7 of us.
Wow.
So completely different operational style, completely different type of business. And I said, okay, here I go. Right.
Right. I love it. So what actually changed after you joined, if you can think back?
It's hard to think back, right? It's, when you
Yeah.
start talking a decade plus, For me, I quickly saw within a very short time, I'm talking like the first month, you almost, between the training, between the way that agents conducted themselves here, I felt right at home. One, two, I quickly realized, even though I was a seasoned, what you would consider a seasoned agent in the business and, was doing a good level of production, I almost felt like I had taken a few steps back because I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have a P&L. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And I have a competitive personality that's just kind of my nature. So I took that on as, okay, I want to knock out A, B, and C first. What does that look like? And I just kind of started tackling things from there and quickly knew if you want to be successful in this business, you have to run it like a business.
Awesome. And that's one of the things that I think we're phenomenal at. There's a lot of companies where you can go be a salesperson.
Mhm.
I think the difference of Keller Williams is teaching you how to be a business person, how to leave a legacy.
100%.
And that's huge. I remember back when you went from being on a team to being solo, and then I really saw you soar. What was that like for you?
People think, especially in this business, they think overnight success. I've been planting seeds for, the last decade. So people don't always see kind of what we're doing behind the scenes. And, that's as simple as building our database, using command, using the resources that I have, networking, building really strong relationships with folks that are at other brokerages as well. So that overnight success, no, but it's the foundation. It's the building block of, okay, as simple as I'm starting with, okay, I really need to figure out this database, right? That's where
Right.
my business come from, take care of my people. To, okay, now I need to do this. Now I need to do this. I just didn't have that. No offense. It was a different business model.
Right.
And it's almost like I didn't know any of this
You didn't know
existed
what you
until I
didn't
got
know.
here.
Right.
So for
Yeah.
me, it was exciting. Did it maybe feel a little overwhelming or scary at first? Yes, right.
Yeah.
Anytime we're doing something we don't know, I think that's just kind of a natural feeling. But as I continue building those blocks, and when kind of what you're talking about, it was like I was planting those seeds a long time, and then it all kind of just has come together, especially over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. And another great point that you just brought out, and I always tell people this, it's funny that fear and excitement actually feel the same in your body.
Right.
So whenever someone is afraid, I share with them that you're excited. You're not really
100%.
afraid.
100%.
Because anything new, you should have some feelings towards if you're doing
For sure.
something up to something big, right?
And if you're fully committed to the process.
Right. I also want to share, I followed Jamie around one day at one of our company events, and I was absolutely exhausted. Jamie has really created a referral business that I have never seen anything like it. So I definitely commend you on that. I don't know that I would have had the ability to do the business, but that's what's cool is we can all do the business differently and still have the same results. You just need to
Right.
find those levers, and you found yours
I
like in a
have.
big way.
I think again, and not being a transactional agent, for me, relationships are so important, and that starts at my market center. That's with my clients. That's with friends, with family, all of it. And for me, with having that bucket of business, as I call it, with referral partnerships, it's all relationships.
Awesome. Awesome. What would you say would be one of the things, if any, that our office has done to help you with your business?
Gosh, there's so many. Even 10 years later, I walk into this office, whether it's a seasoned agent that I've known for a decade plus, whether it's a new agent, and people talk about culture, everybody can kind of throw culture around. It's the feeling of being welcomed, of being able to reach out. I, have agents, not other brokerages, our Keller Williams agents, being able to bounce things off each other, right? And I think our Tuesday team meeting was such a great example. And at the end, after we have our meeting, we've all had barbecue and all of that great stuff, and spending time together is just be able to sit around and ask other agents, are you experiencing this? Are you experiencing this? I don't, and I know this to be true because I've been in many other brokerages. I know that doesn't exist out there. And the mindset of, not operating in scarcity and that
Hmm.
there's enough business. So for me, I love coming into our office. I think that's super important. And to be able to have that relationship, that family, and it's here, it's real. It's not fake. It's not like this myth
It's
of
not
what people
the
think.
drink the Kool-Aid.
No, no.
Okay. Awesome. I appreciate that. Tell us where your business is now.
Gosh, okay. So in 2025, very proud to be the number one Orland Park agent in units and number two in volume as a true solo agent. Closed 94 last year, including rentals. Regular, just resale was 90 for a little over 30 million.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. So the average agent closes, I want to say right now, statistically, somewhere between 4 and 5 units.
Mhm.
And Jamie is doing that. She's tripling that each month. I don't know. I know. Am I doing math right? Um, she's doing
Thank you.
phenomenal. And being a solo agent and being able to do that, what would you say the key is?
For me, it's time blocking. I show everybody, whether it's my kids, it's a client. I am very intentional with my time, and that's I think where the discipline comes in. And
Mhm.
I remember joining Keller Williams, and this girl, she had that paper calendar. I'm not even kidding. And
Me
what
too.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm crossing things out, it's showing get canceled, and I'm writing things back in, and the thought of like giving that up. And I remember somebody in the office saying to me, "No, we're going to use a Google Calendar." No, I can't. I can't. What if somebody steals my phone and blah blah, and it was a limiting belief, right?
Right.
And so for me, my one of the big takeaways was, no, you will be more disciplined when you physically are looking at something, you're holding it in your hand, it's color coded, it's very disciplined. That was like big for me, and still to this day I tell people all the time, they'll look at it and they'll go, oh my goodness, what is this? And I'm like, listen, unless it's unfortunately going to the bathroom, or maybe it's a meal I dine alone and not with a client or whatever, everything is on
On
here.
there. Yeah.
Everything is on here because, and I'll even set alarms on my phone and things like that for super important things in addition to what's on there. But I think that has a lot to do with it, right? And
For
we
sure.
have to know where time's going. Otherwise, and I'll say this to new agents, it's very easy to go, it's not on my calendar. You sit down, you start watching Dr. Phil. 3 hours later, guess what? You haven't picked up one phone call. You haven't returned a phone call. You haven't been hunting properties. I call it hunting in this business for properties for our buyers, and you lose a day. All of a sudden, one day turns into 1 week,
For
turns into
sure.
1 month. And that's where you have that kind of roller coaster of production, which
Hmm.
is super common in this business.
Very common. People do a bunch of activities and then they have a bunch of closings, so they have busy work.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden their production goes down because they didn't keep doing those activities.
Yep, the
It's a
roller
very,
coaster.
very common
It
problem.
exists. It's here.
Where is your business coming from now compared to what it was?
Gosh, since coming to Keller Williams and with the addition of Command, really, I call it the health of my database. Getting that database where I have all of my clients' information, and that's important, right? Not just names, but spouses and birth dates and all of that great stuff, so that I'm able to constantly engage with my
Hmm.
database, right? We always want our business, majority of it, to be coming from there. So I'm fortunate that year over year I continue to increase that business
So you get
within
a
my
lot of
database.
inbound business
Yes.
at this point?
Oh, 100%.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
client
That's really cool.
referrals and social media. I'm a mix, honestly, from database, from client referrals to agent referrals and social media. Those are kind of my four buckets of business. I've always had a niche also in probate and as well as divorce.
Cool. Cool, cool. Okay. So looking back, was making the move to Keller Williams worth it?
100%. I can tell you, 10 years ago, now I will age myself. My children are 19 and 21. And they'll only know me to do real estate, period. But they remember me making the change and what we've been able to accomplish as a family, even just in the last 10 years from seeing, the production and being able to bring them to Europe. And we own investment properties, things that I can tell you would not have happened. I'm blessed to be here. I continue to be blessed to be here. And it's, not just professionally, but personally, it's changed our lives.
And I think that that's another thing that you do so well you set aside those family times. You set aside the things that are important, and you still continue to do those, which the type of volume you do, and you're able to still do that, that has to be good time blocking.
And I'm very fortunate. I have a great coach, Dana McDonald. She's in the MAPS coaching, and she is phenomenal. And I used to work 7 days a week. And I've been in MAPS coaching, gosh, 6 years now. And the first thing she said was pick one day, mark it off your calendar, you're taking it off. And
My
that
coach did that
thought
too.
made me sick.
Yeah.
I said, no, I can't. Now, does that mean on Sundays I'm not returning calls? I'm not prepping for my week? No, but it means that I'm physically at home with my family. Also, as I'm doing my calendar and looking ahead, I am time blocking, whether it's something for my son or daughter, whether it's for my father who lives with us, and those family vacations. It's important because this
Absolutely.
business is exhausting at times, as we all know. And it's super important to have that balance. I can tell you, I've had more balance and continue to have more balance even this year, um, focusing on what really is important to me. So the balance is there if the discipline is there, right, with the time
Right,
blocking.
right. And you avoid, just being disciplined, you avoid some of the mishaps that other people have.
100%.
So you've done that really well.
Thank you.
So, what would you say to an agent that might have hesitation and they might be contemplating a move? What would you say to them about exploring it?
I'm always open to having, a coffee meal with any agent. In fact, yesterday I call it like mini coaching. I'm not a coach, no desire at this point, but an agent in our office, we meet once a month, for breakfast. And she was not with KW, and has since come over and loves it here. I met with somebody else, past client, who is getting her real estate license about Keller
Nice.
Williams. So what I say is reach out. We can have coffee wherever you want to go, breakfast, whatnot. I love food, by the way. I'm a foodie. And like just have an honest conversation and like what's working in your business, what isn't working in your business. I think anybody in the industry that knows me, regardless of brokerage, knows I'm very open to sharing. I got off a call this morning with an agent from another brokerage who's having an issue selling a listing, and she goes, how did you sell that one two doors down? So anybody that knows me knows that. Reach out to me. I honesty, even if it hurts. That's what I always say. How I've raised my kids too. Reach out, and there will always be that apprehension. There will always be that, I don't want to rebrand it. I don't want to do signs. I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
But so there's always going to be an excuse. And have an honest look at your business. Look at your year over year.
Yeah, knowing your numbers.
Numbers don't lie. Numbers
I
don't
will
lie.
tell you, Jamie knows her numbers inside and out, and if they're wrong, she'll let us know.
Well, because every single month I'm constantly doing an analysis, right? And then mid-year and end of year. And this is the girl that when I got in real estate, I go, I don't want to get in real estate. I hate math. I hate math. I didn't like it in school. I didn't like it in college. And ironically, I am like so in tune to my numbers because it doesn't lie. When you look at
Right.
it, it is what it is. So for an
Exactly.
agent that does have that hesitation, typically a change of brokerage comes from pain sometimes,
Right,
right? It
right.
comes from pain or what am I missing? So taking an honest look at that and seeing what makes sense for that pain to stop or that bleed to stop, right? And
Right.
unless you're surrounded by the right people who will freely tell you like, hey, this is what working for me. This isn't working for me. If you're not in the right environment, you may not ever get to the bottom of what that really is.
Right. I agree. And there is an abundance of business.
Hmm.
Keller Williams isn't for everyone, and that's okay. We still share
We do.
because we know there's an abundance of business. And we're not worried about, having competition at all. Actually, we like it.
Well, and I say it, and I have heard many other agents say there's enough business for all of us,
Yes.
for those that want it, right?
Right.
It's true. It's true, which is why I'll have an agent call me and go, "How'd you sell that?" Because there just is. We all grow together, regardless of brokerage. But I mean, this is family. It's become family. Obviously I feel that way about you, and I'm fortunate to be here. People have asked me 100 times, "What makes you stay?" And I list all the 100 reasons, and they'll
Yeah.
look at me like I'm crazy, but it's true.
Good. All right. Is there anything else that you want to share that you think would be important to somebody either that's just getting started or somebody that's been around and not sure what their next move is?
I think again, looking at your numbers and looking at who you surround yourself with.
Mm,
if there even is a question on one and or both, um, you know, I think it's worth a conversation. It's worth a
right.
coffee. It's, you know, with to just bounce it off somebody else, right? Sometimes our family isn't always the best barometer of that.
Right.
Unless you're in this business, you really don't live, eat, and breathe it every day. So talking to somebody that will just give you some honest feedback, not like, hey, I want you to come over here and, you know, it's not recruiting. Like, hey, let's look at what you're doing, what's worked, what hasn't. Is there room for opportunity here? And maybe that looks like changing a brokerage. Maybe it doesn't, and
Right.
that's totally okay too. Because I'll see you on the next deal, and I love you just as much.
Good. Awesome. Thank you.
You are
Thank you for
welcome.
being here, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you. I love being here.
That was amazing. Jamie Lemmons, we're glad you were here today. If you'd like additional information, if you'd like to talk to Jamie, you can reach out to myself. My information is on here. And if you just want to have a conversation or find out where your business is right now, please feel free to reach out. We're open to whatever that looks like. And I promise you, we're not going to snowball and feed you Kool-Aid.